Go, podcast!
Welcome to Podcast This Escape, the podcast where we talk about the escape room that we escaped from in the previous episode of this podcast.
Jim and Kirsty, you just got out. Not out of the room, out of the...
Out of the show!
Everything.
Out of everything.
Yeah.
You did it!
Oh my
You're our most
goodness.
escapey people so far this season.
Was it like a giant dome, the way the Truman Show was a giant dome?
Maybe that's still yet to be uncovered.
Yeah, do you go out through the... Yeah, what is the world going to be like on the outside? You're going to go out and it's going to be like, it's the year 2259. We've been pretending
Worse,
it's the 20th...
it's the year 1859.
Oh, no.
It's weird.
That's some weird stuff.
Get outside and find out that the world's entirely populated by the cardboard cutouts.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. I have no idea what's going to happen after this. I am so excited to see what's on the other end of this tunnel next episode.
This is just tortuous to be left on a cliffhanger. I mean, it's bad enough listening to it on the show, but to know that I've got to wait even longer to find out.
It's so rough.
Well,
It is,
yeah, so
especially
now that...
since, it sounded like we were going to be the ones to uncover the truth. But no, we are the ones to uncover the just before the truth.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is the interesting part, isn't it? And I wanted to ask you about that. There are still 3 more episodes to go.
Yeah, how are there still 3 more episodes? What
do you reckon?
Okay, that means that the outside world has to be wild, right? There has to be some big old crazy thing going on.
Yeah.
Maybe
Is it all
maybe
dogs?
you have to...
Why would you
I
want
was
to
gonna say,
escape
like-
the dog world?
To me, it sort of feels like the end of Westworld Season 2, where you suddenly arrive out in the outside world. But this is happening with 3 episodes left to go. So immediately I'm like, oh, we're going to encounter the Ed Harris, and we're going to seek
what I've been
vengeance.
saying.
We're going to try and rescue our childhood friend. We're going to... Oh, I don't even know all the places where this is going to go. We didn't even find out who our mysterious friend is, because they're at the end of the tunnel. We're only in the middle of the tunnel.
I know.
What if it's you? What if it's you from the future?
What if it's me, Jim Fishwick?
What if it's
Inside.
actually
It's
Jim
White
Fishwick?
Rabbit.
What if you get out and then you see Jim Fishwick and he says, "Oh, how was your day so far? Would you like to tell me about the things you've done in your day?"
Yeah,
I'll do a whole thing about it.
This isn't meta at all.
I've been writing a story on this typewriter. Would you like to? It's really interesting. I wonder. Tell you what I would really mean is you get out, you're wonderful. The next episode is just like, oh, you have a fun day and there's some puzzles that happen, and then you go to bed in your new hotel that you've got now that you're in the outside world. And you see a small red flashing in the corner. There's another camera. This is part of the show.
Can I give you spoiler, non-spoiler?
Sure.
That was 100% something I have in my original set of notes.
Then we'll find out next episode. Oh, yes, I never wrote a second set of notes. That is what's happening. It's in my original and current set of notes.
I'm looking forward to the podcast, This Escape, of the final episode, so I can tell you the stuff that's changed over this season. Because it's gone quite in interesting directions.
But going back to the actual room that we just did, rather than thinking about the room next time, you guys did great. Did you have any moments in that room that you really enjoyed or made you feel
you felt smart?
When I said we need to sniff the posters.
I was so happy.
my
Yes,
God.
very good guess.
Oh my God,
very
that was
smart.
amazing.
Well, I never would have thought of that, except we had a real life smell-based puzzle quite recently, and we were terrible at it.
They're really hard, aren't they? I know a lot of rooms are sort of iffy about putting them in. One, because who knows, allergens and all that sort of stuff, how sensitive someone is to smells. But also, it's really hard.
Yeah.
And especially, it's really interesting in an audio escape room because generally I would have said it's impossible to do a smell-based puzzle in an audio escape room because what do? You're like, you smell a rose. Oh, can I smell this mug? It smells like that rose. Like there's no puzzle. It's just like, you smell a thing that smells like coffee. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
which is why I had to interlink it with homophone pun puzzle as well, so that it wasn't just, oh, cool, if you sniff the thing, you get the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the idea of like linking it to what am I trying to smell? Why would I be trying to smell that? And then the smelling itself is just like, it smells like popcorn. It smells strong. It smells unstrong. Don't worry about it. You can do it.
Yeah.
It was really interesting to do that.
but also so
Is that the first time
beautifully
we've had-
inside the logic of the world. Because a lot of my friends did work at a cinema, and they came back smelling of popcorn, and like it seeps into everything.
I was wondering whether or not to give you a canonical former high school friend who used to smell like popcorn every day. But yeah, and Billy, were you just asking, is that the first time we've had a smell
Is
puzzle?
that the first time we've done something
I'd be
smell-based?
surprised, because we've definitely done tastes.
Interesting.
So I'd be surprised if smell hadn't come up before, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
No.
So is that all the senses now that you've done?
We haven't done... Well, have we done a touch puzzle?
Touch is very hard.
Have we done a puzzle where something feels like something else?
I'm not
They must
sure.
have come up all the time,
Again,
surely.
you would think so.
It's hard to not just be like, it feels like this object.
And you've done like things being hot or cold, like
Oh,
maybe
that counts, I suppose.
a balance one would be interesting,
true.
like your sense of balance. What about your sense of fashion? Is there a puzzle involving sense of fashion?
We
sense
have
of
done a
direction.
models room.
Have you got any
Our
puzzles
fourth
about,
ever-
What about your sense of impending doom?
That's in every puzzle. If you don't get out in time.
Jim, did you have a standout moment for yourself?
I think seeing that the arcade screen for the Tetris thing looked like the seating chart, it was interesting because I sort of like felt clever that I'd spotted the connection, but I didn't get to actually pay it off for another half an hour or something.
True, but it is nice. It is nice to be able to see, like, oh, I haven't even seen the other side of this puzzle, but I know what it's going to be. Like, I know how it's going to connect. It's nice.
Yeah.
It was funny that you said seating chart, and I totally got what you meant. Whereas when Billy did the playtest, he went, oh, it looks exactly like our local cinema. Because I don't know if this is the case in a lot of places. All our local cinemas have these fat maroon chairs.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
color to me really sold it. There's a certain kind of cinema chair color that is this dark maroon.
Yeah, and
chair.
I haven't been to enough faraway cinemas to know how far that goes.
Well, I can
a
tell you,
lot
I
of
used
them
to.
are.
Sorry.
A lot of them are dark maroon.
I wonder what that is. Does that make the movie better?
Oh, there's some capitalist science behind it, I'm sure.
So the film museum that I used to work at, we had two cinemas, which were also called Cinema 1 and Cinema 2, and all the chairs were black, except in Cinema 1, a bunch of them were coloured red, and in Cinema 2, a bunch of them were coloured yellow. And the story went that the two architects, one of them supported one of the local football teams, and one of them supported the other one, and they couldn't
my gosh.
agree
Wow.
about which colour the chairs should be, and so they got one each.
Can I just say, I just Googled it. There, it is an answer. And it's because apparently if you put yourself in low light conditions, red is the first colour to disappear. So that's the one you lose sight of the most.
So it makes the chairs disappear.
Yeah.
That's very
so
cool.
you're only seeing the screen. You're not seeing what's around you quite as much.
Oh, see? Science.
I was worried that it was something like how the carpets in cinemas will have things that look like popcorn have been dropped on them so that you don't notice it. And it's like in case
So
people
rude.
start randomly bleeding while watching a film that the colour blends in with the chair.
don't want anybody
But
to
no,
notice.
I think that one makes much more sense.
Yes.
Oh, I love
yeah,
that.
it's a nice reason.
I liked this room. I thought it was a really nice sort of like progression. It was I don't know, it felt like a classic Escape This
It's
Podcast
interesting
room.
because I've had so many this season in particular that have just been singular rooms. And this one was the most multi-room. There were like, 5 different areas?
Yeah,
yeah.
1, 2,
All of
3,
them
4,
locked
5, yeah.
off?
5 separate rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hasn't happened in a little while.
Yeah, I
And,
was
yeah,
like,
I forgot how different that could make it because I was really worried before running this room that it was really short because my notes for this room are like 1,000 to 2,000 words shorter than my other write-ups, and I don't know why. So I was just terrified the entire time. It was a really short, easy room. But
Well,
it seems
you're
like it
welcome.
felt comparable.
It's a good thing you booked us.
Well, no, I had the same thing. I did the playtest and it took the same amount of time as any other recording. It like something about it, even though you have fewer notes, it just kind of
I don't understand.
progresses along and maybe there are more puzzles that you need to stop and think about in this one. Like I feel like the figuring out the code for the movies to get the ticket printed is like a whole takes
That's
a
true.
lot. To
I
think,
don't have many
I've got to
notes about
dwell
that.
on this and this and I but the write up for that is just they insert correct code. It is
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But like in actuality, you have to like look at it. You look over at the cardboard cutout. You think, oh, maybe that indicates what movie it is. How does that relate back to the titles? Oh, that one's got Clue in it. That could be the Sherlock Holmes. This is then the ticket has. There's so many layers to it. But written out, it's very, very simple.
I suppose that's
Yeah.
It just
To me,
requires a lot
that's-
of bringing it together.
To me, that's like the mark of a good puzzle is that when you're designing a puzzle, you're trying to design a path through it for the person who's solving it. And if you can do that while putting in only a small number of like moving parts that they need to think about, or only a small number of like constraints or hints, then that's a really elegant puzzle that all the pieces of it they all felt so natural in the world. And it was just really deft touches of like nudging us towards the right answer along the way.
Oh, I'm glad. Oh, can I just say, well done on getting the high plus lie puzzle as quickly as you did, remembering that you had seen both HI and LI in their various places.
Oh man,
Yes,
it's all a blur. I can't even remember where we got lie from. Oh yes, I
Laser
do. It's a movie
Invasion. Yeah,
title.
you got that.
Alien Friends.
The
I
laser
immediately went to my like cryptic crossword solving defaults of like, oh, LI is
Yeah.
Roman
Yeah.
numerals. Okay.
Well, I did the
But you
same
actually
thing with
paid
the
attention to
posters.
the room that we were doing.
I got so caught up in some of these poster titles because that had LIV in as well, Live and whoever. And I was like, 54? Oh my God, it's supposed to be. And I
Yeah,
was so
it took
obsessed
you a
with
while to
nothing.
notice that the words were capitalized
I
on the
didn't even
posters,
notice
but
the words.
obviously you got that immediately.
First thought.
Well, I was just lucky because I wanted to click on something else to look at it. I accidentally brought up the film titles. I looked straight at the first one that we were supposed to be looking at, and I was like, oh, there it is. That was easy.
Ah, nice. And the one thing that is in this room that you did not need was if you hadn't pulled down the posters and revealed the second door, there's a little bit in the projectionist's booth where I have added in my description of it that on the right-hand side, there's a little window that overlooks the right cinema. But on the left side, there's a wooden plank.
Oh.
And you can pull that away to reveal, hey, you can see down. There's a second cinema down there somewhere.
Oh.
And can I say
But-
all the different hidden compartments and things opening, like, I love that so much. This is like giddy, childlike, like, there's a secret thing that we're going to go through the passageway.
We thought
like,
that
I
was a
almost
wall.
giggling.
Yeah, same. I was so excited. You can probably listen back and hear me going,
And it's so lucky that that still works in an audio room.
Oh, right, because in a real escape room, it's so great if there's a hidden door that you had no idea was a door. Like sometimes you can see them and you can suspect that's a hidden door, but if something opens up that you did not know was in any way capable of opening, that's amazing.
yeah.
And in an audio room, it's much easier to disguise when something can or cannot open up because I can make it as convincing as I feel like.
We have
Yeah.
done one
But-
very, very funny room. Because I was about to say you could do this as a joke,
Oh,
but I'm pretty
this
sure we
is
have done one
hilarious.
where it existed, which was a
Ridiculous.
bookshelf that had clear like hinges on it, that connecting it to the wall and like locks and stuff. And it was like, oh, okay, obviously that bookshelf is a hidden
Yeah.
passageway because it's a bookshelf and I can see the hinges. And when you finally unlocked it, the bookshelf stays in place and the wall opens up.
The wall
Which is just
beside
wonderful.
it was
You
ridiculous.
just feel like such an idiot because they were getting you. You just think, yeah, hidden bookshelf. You
Yeah.
haven't got me. And it's just wonderful.
It was highly embarrassing, but it was great.
That's wonderful.
They played you like a violin.
Now, the one thing that you guys saw much sooner than I did was with those posters. Well, not only just that there were words that were capitalized, but you had a clear idea straight away. Like when you first saw those words, you were thinking that they were homonyms or homophones, or like there were a lot of words that sound like other words, and I really didn't notice those. I wasn't
Right.
thinking about right, and side, and all that stuff. So I didn't notice it till right at the end. So you kind of had that puzzle come through together much quicker.
And Jim, I feel like in our game interactions with you, wordy joke puzzles feel like your sort of thing.
Yeah, finally my... wait, hang on. Let me try to think about... Actually, it is my strength, but it is also my weakness. Two sides of the same coin. Listeners, you heard these people groaning when I made the wrong scan. I don't want you to turn on the red
That
light.
was
Fun.
amazing.
That is exactly the sort of thing. Like, I can't help myself. It just comes out, and so it was
That
actually
one-
useful at the end.
Jim, that one was so good. It made me feel good and like made me feel good about how I had designed this room.
Dude. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I'm sort of like always looking out for, I guess. The last thing I did before I came over here was do a cryptic crossword with my mum. So maybe I was like especially
You're primed.
Perfect.
In the
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is interesting about this room, because it came up with the way you were looking through the cinemas, is the extent to which, like, knowing what to do with a puzzle can be really hard if you haven't found your, like, input, right? Like, how to do this. You might, like, have an idea of the answer, but having a really clear idea of how to input your answer is so important. Because I found that in this one, and I think I had a similar issue in the playtest with the chairs, is that if you think of them as chairs and you have a picture of them in your head, you're kind of like, okay, I got chairs. I now know something about chairs. But as soon as you have the idea that one part of that chair can move, like, you know, there is a binary of up or down on chairs. So as soon as you get the description, oh, and by the way, and like these chairs, they have that flap bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been nice if I'd found a way to describe the chairs earlier. Like I have in my notes just waiting for a cool look at the chairs, but
Yeah.
that didn't really come up in that way. So I had to figure out exactly where to put that, and I probably should have found a way to include that sooner.
Well,
But
what's
it's so
interesting
as soon as you have
is
that
that
input option, you can do the puzzle.
what's interesting is that when we saw the map, what's interesting is that when we saw the high score with some of the chairs blanked out, I was like, oh, maybe we're going to have to lift some of the chairs up. And we're going to have to do
yeah.
some sort of like up or down thing. And then when we got into the cinema and you didn't describe them as being the sort of spring-loaded type, then I assumed like, oh, okay, well then they just must all be down. And I sort of subconsciously let that thing go. Because to my mind, like, it's interesting about like whether they're... I was thinking of chairs that start flat down, but then you can pick them up. Whereas you were thinking of chairs that's a sprung load. So sprung load? Spring-loaded.
That's
I conjugated the wrong part of the verb.
Sprangled.
Yeah, they're sprangle-dangled. So that they're always up and you've got to weigh them down.
Yeah, this is the biggest pitfall of these audio escape rooms. You have to make sure that what you are visualizing in your head does absolutely get across. The things that you don't realize don't go without saying.
See, and the problem is Danny is just too cultured. So you were picturing the type of chairs that would actually be in a movie theater, whereas Danny is picturing the chairs from a concert hall or an opera house,
Right.
or, you know, or a theater where they would actually flip down like
I'm
that.
going to jump into Danny's corner here because this isn't an actual cinema. This is the set of a cinema that has been built for a TV show.
Damn straight.
So
Yes.
maybe the set designers like created this classy sort of world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was where they really blew their budget.
Yeah. Cinema chairs.
For when all of the people watching the show are watching you watch a movie.
But then that also raises so many interesting questions of like, so if this cinema 2 has been dusty and unused for years, like, was this built when our character was a baby, like right at the start of the show? And it just ended up not being
Yes.
used? Or is this set left over from the previous season, from the previous person who was in this show?
Ooh.
And it's
Maybe
this
it's
endless cycle.
where maybe it's where the premiere was aired and you could buy tickets to it.
Oh. Damn. I want to make like an immersive theater show of that where the audience member is, they realize that they're anyway, sorry, carry on. Yep, let's keep talking
No,
about
I'm
the
going.
podcast.
When your character goes to the movies, they go into cinema 1, and all the people who want to watch you had to go into cinema 2,
Wow.
and then
Watch
dust
you
it all up
do
afterwards.
Basically a very fancy reaction video.
Exactly.
All right.
I really enjoyed listening to that. It's so nice as well, like now doing all the playtests and seeing people do the same things and different things where we get caught on the same ideas. But you two were fantastic and you did a lot better than me.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
So if people want to hear more of you and the stuff that you're doing, where can they find you?
All right. Well, sorry, Kirsty, do you want to talk about the show?
No, Jim, I think you've got a good spiel for this one.
Okay. Well, our show is called Escape Hamilton. It comes out every week or so, depending on how long it takes to edit an episode. And you can find it on all the pod places, and you can follow us on Instagram at Escape Hamilton. And if you happen to be in New Zealand, then I'm going to be touring my show, The Saboteur, which is a hidden role improv game in Auckland, Wellington, and Christchurch. Christchurch. It's where they have the shirts of Christ, and it's a holy relic. It's a holy relic. And also my show, The Museum, this morning in a couple of other places as well. And you can find details of those things. I don't know. Where can you find them? Let's say facebook.com/FimJishwick.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
All right, and there'll be links to that stuff in the show notes as well.
Oh, yeah, that.
Wonderful. It was great to have the two of you on. If you want to hear more of what Danny and I do, you can find everything we do at consumethismedia.com, which will be Escape This Podcast, our second show, Solve This Murder. If you want to hear some murder mysteries that Danny creates and I try and solve.
If you want to hear more
difficult.
episodes of Solve This Jigsaw.
Yeah, exactly. It's our great spin-off show.
That's more our Twitch channel.
We have our Twitch channel, Play This Game, where you can watch us
Play this game live.
Play This Game. Well, yes, there's Play This Game. Play This Game Live is there's all the links on consumethismedia.com. And we usually play Nancy Drew every week. And we also play other fun stuff every now and then. You can go back and watch some of Danny's blindfolded run of Pokemon, or
Oh my god.
or me playing through both
I'm
of
gonna
the
play
first
Radical
two
Red
Batman
soon.
games. It's great fun.
Oh my gosh.
But it is really lovely. And if you enjoy the show and you want to support the show and you want to hear the playtest audio or a series of 2-minute mysteries that we do, you can always join the Patreon. There's a link to that in the show notes as well. And donors can appear in episodes.
There was no one in this one.
All right. Donors have the chance to appear as NPCs in the rooms that Danny creates. There's also bonus episodes and badges and other fun stuff for donors. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you again to Jim and Kirsty for coming on. It was lovely to have you. And
Thank you for having
Danny.
us.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.